Welcome, everybody, back to the JohnnyDrinks Podcast. I'm your co-host, Johnny. I'm here with my father.
This is John.
Today, we're going to be talking about
Mentorship.
Virtual
versus reality in person. What do you think about that, Johnny?
I think it's a good topic. Do you have a mentor?
I've had mentors, several of them. Right now, I do not have a mentor right now, but I'm looking for one. Anybody want to throw themselves out there?
Well, I guess maybe that's the first question today. When looking for a mentor, assuming maybe you're a little bit younger, you've never had one yet, are you putting out a job application? Like, are you looking and asking somebody to be your mentor, or does it kind of just naturally come to you?
It naturally came to me. I never looked for a mentor, nor did I look to be a mentor.
You think you're a mentor?
I'm positive that I have been a mentor. Whether I'm a mentor today to somebody I don't know, I think there's a good chance that because of this content creation stuff that we're doing, that I am a mentor, but it's a virtual. And so that's part of why this conversation is going to be relevant today, in that it's a virtual relationship. Fans, followers, young people that want to be successful, make money, have families, feel good about themselves, watch our content, listen to our podcast, in hopes that they can grab a nugget and maybe emulate and get some of all of what I think we've amassed in a personal and in a professional way.
I think that's the hard part of maybe even being a mentor for anybody, and especially as like a content creator, like a social mentor, is you didn't sign up for the job. Nobody told you, hey, you're going to be this person's mentor. Good luck. So now you're living on camera and you're like, some things I do are wrong.
Right.
Don't do what I just did, but you don't have the chance to tell them that.
Right.
So now you have people living like you, and you have this like reputation to uphold. It's a hard job. And sometimes I notice it where creators will come out and say, like, I'm not your mentor. Don't just live the way I live. I fuck up and I'm looking for a mentor. So that's a really good point to acknowledge. And I had the question for you. When is like the first, do you remember an age where you started to really look for mentorship and guidance from an adult?
Well, again, I never looked for a mentor. I looked for and noted people I believed were successful and good at what they did that stood out from the crowd. And I said, wow, that would be cool to dress like them, drive the car, have the house, the things that as a 21, 22-year-old young person, that's the meaning of life, I thought.
What were those things when you were 21 that you were emulating out of adults? Or
Clothes, shoes, soft drinks, automobiles. These are the jewels. No, that's from Jerry Maguire. Mike Campanero's the only one who's going to get that.
Or anybody else has seen the movie.
So, it would be clothing, cars, money, houses, the materialistic things.
Right.
But as you get older, it's, wow, that guy has a beautiful family. Wow, that is a beautiful family. That woman is married to a very nice guy. And look how happy that couple is, whether they had children or not. Then your mind changes. So as a young person, only knowing that, hey, it's time to provide for myself and I need to make money, you're geared up to say, well, who's making money? How are they doing it? And let me go follow them. And then for some, not for me, it is approaching them and asking them questions. I never did that. I didn't go through that exercise.
Why?
I guess I didn't have to. Because it came to me.
Well, no, but you asked them the questions. Oh, you're saying like, you didn't like formally ask somebody to be your mentor.
Right. I never ever asked the question, how do I make money? How do I get what you have? Can you share with me the path? I didn't do that.
Well, those are ridiculous questions to ask.
No, but some people, John, today, through content and through, messages, I can show you my LinkedIn. It's full of people that want to know how to become successful.
I think that's the wrong, you're asking the wrong questions.
I'm asking the wrong questions?
No. Like if you're coming up to somebody, stranger or not, and saying, hey, how do I make money? Like that's such a vague and broad question that how could you expect somebody?
Well, okay. Verbatim, maybe it's not how do you make money, but that's the question. It's getting asked in a different context, which is how do I become successful? What did you do to amass what you have?
Well,
So it's the same thing. How do you make money? Because you can't have a couple houses and cars and all these things if you don't make money.
that's the other thing too. People don't realize, especially on social, they very well could have what you have, and they don't even know it yet because they see your through a lens that's so different and a highlight reel that. And again, for numbers' sake, because it's easier to compare numbers. If you're making X amount of dollars a year, and you see somebody online that's portraying that they're making 10 times that, but they're really making as much as you, maybe it's asking the right questions to say like, oh wait, I am on this level.
Right.
And that makes you feel a little bit better about yourself. You're not constantly chasing, the dangling carrot in front of your face that you're never going to actually grab.
Yeah. Well, so the difference to me, the fine line difference is the virtual versus the face-to-face reality of a mentorship relationship. And so that's how we started this, right?
So when did you find your first? Yeah.
My first one came at a young age of probably 29.
Whoa.
When
that's not that young.
I think that's young.
You didn't have a mentorship role before, like somebody that you looked up to?
Always people I looked up to. Well, okay, back up. So my first person I looked up to was my college baseball coach. I looked up to him because he spoke about real estate. He spoke about things that he had done through, actually, ironically, the mortgage profession. And mortgage profession at that time I didn't even know what a mortgage was. Right. But he was a athletic director of a college, head baseball coach, my coach, and he was doing mortgages and buying real estate on the side. Right. And he would share with me things that he was doing while I was in college. And he would say to me, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I was like, I can't, what do you mean? I said, I'm in college. How am I doing that? Yeah. And he would, follow up. And years later, when I graduated college, the conversations would change and we'd open up my eyes to the possibilities of how. So I guess that was my first mentor. However, then time separated us. So I wasn't around him like I once was, right? I graduated, I moved back to North Jersey. He's in South Jersey. And I would see him in Ocean City, ironically, because he was big in Ocean City. He had real estate in Ocean City. He got me to buy real estate in Ocean City. So that was an influence.
Right. Okay. That was your first major,
that was,
I'm going to do what he says type of guy.
Right. That was me putting the stake in the ground and hearing his voice say, you got to buy real estate.
Right. Okay. So what do you think are the main characteristics of a mentor?
Someone that's willing to share, someone that's willing to invest time and communicate. That makes for a good mentor. That's a good start.
Yeah. Because I think that's a big one, right? You could emulate somebody, but if they're not willing to really give you anything, you're probably better off talking to somebody that maybe doesn't have everything that you're looking for, but is willing to spend the time and teach you something. Because if you're at, you're on your life steps and you're at step 10 and you want to get to step 100, you can still learn from the person that's at step 20. It may not be the end goal for you, but there's little nuggets here and there that you could.
This virtual and reality face-to-face concept I'm talking about, the virtual space is flooded with people trying to be mentors, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to be life coaches. They are failing miserably in their own lives, yet they're life coaches.
Yep.
And Johnny, I got to tell you, it's one of the things that, again, as you get older, you start to see and you appreciate people who were financially busted out, strung out, poor relationships with their marriages, like people in and around our world. You would not know this, but I know this because we kind of are growing on paths similar. And that person's now a life coach. That person's giving young advice, making people pay for it. I'm like, wow. Okay. So understand this. The mentor that you may seek and you may aspire to have to give you the answers isn't always that right person. You may have to pay for that, and that doesn't equate to being the wrong person, but their steps and their procedures and the way that they communicate might not match up well, and you may not find that out until you're too deep into cassette, DVD, pod, download, episode 20. You may not find that out. You need to, I think, allow yourself to be yourself first, right. Then be comfortable with the influences of other people. There's guys I know that run car washes, run the car wash, find out they own not only that car wash, but 3 others. The bagel store, the restaurant. Those people, if they shared with you their path and their story, it's probably a lot simpler. Starts with hard work, ends with more hard work, and sacrifice to family and commitment and investing in yourself and having courage. That's probably what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in the example we just talked about, my college baseball coach, Dr. Michael Brillia, first mentor experience that came to me. Second one was another one at a mortgage company that I worked for. His name was Phil Marola. And Phil was like this guy I saw where I was like, wow, he had it all. He had the cars, he had the clothes, he had the money, he had all the things I thought that I wanted. And truth is, yeah, of course I did. And he provided it and filled in a way to go and get those things. And it was similar to what I just said about the guy who owns the bagel store, the car wash, and the business, right? Work, invest, have courage, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. Do it over and over again. Show up, out hustle the other person. So when you see someone else doing it, and now differently than when you have somebody on a whiteboard or a TikTok or a pod that says, these are the steps. This is the self-evaluation. First step is understanding. Like, okay, that's not for me. It may be for you, but understand that those mentors are going to be in the most unsuspecting places sometimes. Just have to open your eyes, and you never know. You might step right on one of them.
Do you think there's a reason why you aren't looking for a mentor now?
I think now the reason, I don't want to say I don't need one, because I could always benefit by one. The reason I really feel like I don't need one is because if I go through my own mental check down of where I started and where I am, I'm good. Like I accomplished and did some of the things that I always said I would do, providing, creating a family, having things, not wanting for anything, and so on. You know, so that doesn't mean it's even complete and totally in a place where it's over. But this next place that we're in today, I don't know who that person, or I don't know. I don't know who that person would be. To my point, maybe I'm going to step right on them one day.
Well, do you feel like you've done enough in life?
I feel very comfortable and accomplished. Not so much that I'm going to stop and not look for what we're doing here to be the next chapter, because what we're doing here is going to be the next chapter. This is my segue. We talked about it earlier. My friends in the mortgage business that look at me and say, he did it. He got out. he doesn't need the mortgage industry anymore because it's changed.
Yeah. And do you have the same fire starting over now than you did at 25?
With this?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep my fire at a really slow burn so I don't burn the hair off your head.
So the answer is no.
No, I have the same burn. The difference is today, I'm trying to control the heat.
Why?
Because if I crank up the heat, I'm going to burn your hair. You will understand something. And Mom has said it best. We're very similar, right? And some of the things that I feel I pull from experience and pull from my mentors and pull from different places as we talk about doing what we're doing with this now place of content creation. Well, I have my own ideas. I have my own thoughts. I want to work every day as hard as you work, but I can't compete with that because I have to know my role too. Right?
All right. Well, okay. That would be a separate conversation, but I guess to answer the question of have you done enough, your answer seems like it's no. Like you're still looking.
Oh, yeah. I haven't done enough. This is the next chapter.
Yeah. So where do you go now? And I guess the question would be, what's the difference between the relationship of a mentor and just a really good friend that is a good influence in your life?
No, a very good friend can be a mentor of sorts, right? A very
You don't
good
think your dynamic is a little bit different?
I think a good friend that can be transparent and can speak. Listen, that good friend can be a mentor without even knowing they're your mentor, right?
But I feel like the role of a mentor has to be a little bit of a hierarchy. That's what makes a mentor. I'm assuming like that when I have mentors in my life, and there's a couple people that come to my mind, we're really, really good friends, and there's conversations that are very friendly. But there's also conversations that I do just have to sort of succumb and say, hey, if I want to learn from this person, I have to talk way less and stop trying to give him advice back and just absorb as much as I can.
So, told you about Dr. Brillia. My college baseball coach.
Oh, you didn't say
Dr. Yeah, Mickey Brillia. He was my first mentor. He knew he was a mentor.
Yeah.
Phil Marola knew he was my mentor.
Yeah.
Greg Gwiz probably didn't know he was my mentor until I told him. He was my friend. So he's my friend. The friendship relationship was there in place. And then along the way, I was like, wow, this guy's got his act together.
So you were friends first?
Yeah. Well, I worked with him and for him first.
Yeah.
Then a friendship created. And then from that, me getting that close as a friend, he shared more and more as the relationship personally got better. But there's a guy that I'll guarantee, if I said to him today, there was a time where I told him he was my mentor, he had no idea.
Do you think, so I guess that's a good thing, because if it was reversed, I would assume he would feel like the mentorship would have to bleed into the friendship. Like every once in a while, he'd feel the pressure and let me teach John something now. Whereas you're just friends.
Well, and again, and Greg would probably share this with you, especially because we work in the same company, same environment. There's lines that bleed over. Yeah. He's my boss. He was my leader, right? Yeah. I hate to use the word boss, but he was the top of the top. Yeah. So nepotism, well, I can't show John any favoritism. People know we're friends, and I don't want to give him that is very in the forefront of many minds that are in that same situation, right?
I also think it's hard that, again, if the mentorship is a hierarchy, it's hard maybe to consider somebody a mentor when they're around your age doing the same thing as you are.
Well, sure.
Like it's easier for me to be like, that 57-year-old guy or whoever it may be is a mentor to me. And they probably would know it if I said it.
Right. Well, that's my point. You would be quicker and associate faster that the older person, 20, 30 years your senior, is your mentor versus someone who's 5 years, same age, 5 years older. Why? You know what I mean? You can make a case, and that person who's the same age as you can be your mentor.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's, I think they could definitely help you through life, but I don't know if I would consider that a mentor. They would just be a really good friend. Like I have plenty of friends that I learned from, but I don't know if I would consider them mentors.
If they're doing something differently than you and you find that interesting, they, I don't know, maybe they're stronger in their beliefs of faith and religion. So they go to church every Sunday and you believe, but you don't. Now, they're sort of a mentor. Maybe I should go follow them there. Or if they've been working the same amount of years as you have, you're self-employed, they work for a company. Maybe through those conversations you see and learn, wow, there's some stability there. And yeah, that's kind of like something I want to learn more about. So believe me, in your conversations, I think in your conversations with your friends, there's more mentoring that's going on before you even realize it.
Well, I think, like you said, I think there's a difference between a mentor and an individual mentoring you in this moment. Like you said, I have buddies that are stronger, smarter, more spiritual than I am, and I can learn from them in different aspects of life. I wouldn't consider them my mentors. Whereas if I have one person, I think the difference really is, for me, is I have one person, obviously aside from like you and family members, that I see as like a mentor role. You probably know who it is. I look at him, and when he could tell me everything I do right and then give it to me the same flip of the coin and tell me everything I'm doing wrong. And for whatever reason, I take his criticism way more digestibly than anybody else. Like anybody else comes to me and I'm like, you may not know what you're talking about. Whereas he could say something and I may want to combat it, but I'm so much more quicker to say, let me take a step back and really listen to what he's saying. I just have a lot of trust in his word and his advice.
Why is that?
I think, I mean, you know who I'm talking about. So
yeah, but why is that?
I think growing up, I saw this guy, and this is actually the example I wanted to give. I grew up caddying, 14 years old, 15 years old, watching these guys who were all successful, all had the nice cars and the jewelry and the clothes, and that was all great. And at 16, 17 years old, that's all you really cared about was the money and how can I go and do that. But there was an aura around certain guys that were sort of unexplainable. And for whatever reason, nobody wanted to upset these people. Everyone wanted to be friends with these people. Everybody respected what they said. And that, for me, that's what I look up to. I was like, I want to be like that guy. I don't care about how much money they make. I want to be the guy that when they walk in a room, the respect is like so certain.
It's called charisma.
He has a tremendous amount of charisma, but he didn't ever try. That was the weird part about him, was like, he didn't have to put up a front or nothing. He was who he was, and people gravitated towards him. So that, for me, I think at a young age, he took to me, and I was like, that's awesome. For whatever reason, he likes me more than most people, like even guys his age. And so I didn't want to lose that at a young age, at 17 years old. And then once I had it, our relationship, I guess, grew into something that I just had trust in what he said.
Yeah. Well, you should thank Jeff. Thank Jeff Heaney. Schween.
I'll thank Jimmy Veal. If you're out there listening to this, maybe I'll send this to you.
He's another guy. He won't listen.
No, he will. I'll send this to him.
You're going to send this to him.
You want to know what's funny? What? Jimmy Veal, actually, he comments and he'll send me feedback on our content all the time.
Nice.
We just had a conversation yesterday, 2 days ago.
Good.
And you know what he said?
What?
It was pretty.
What did he say?
He gives me advice, and you're going to be like, I say this all the time and you don't listen. Whatever. He said this to me, and it was so profound.
Come on, bring it.
So content creation is this journey, right? And it's a combating between why you went viral, staying consistent with that, but then also appreciating the evolution of your characters online, right? So you are different people than who you were 4 years ago, but how do we remain the same on camera? And he was saying to me, he gave me one line. He's like, Seinfeld has been the same for the past 10 years. They ran for 10 seasons and they were the exact same people every single episode. And I sat there and I was like, this guy who really doesn't know what TikTok is or watch content understands as a viewer what to expect. So we may be learning more as creators. I may be learning more as the son, but I still have to keep and maintain that role as the curious younger guy asking his dad for advice. And so that for me was a really good point. Right. If somebody else said that and said, hey, John, you're changing up your character and you have to be doing this, that I'd be like, you don't even know what you're talking about. Right. But for him, for whatever reason.
That's great. So that's a great takeaway. And that is something, again, I've been saying to you for, I can't tell you how long, but thank you, Jimmy. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. And back to, again, the fact that you're fortunate that you have him. Yeah. There will be someone else in your life. And I'll tell you right now, you are a mentor for other people, right? You just are. And I know today I am too, for people I don't really know that well. But it goes back to, again, how we start this. So where is the most effectiveness? Is it virtual, or is it face-to-face reality? I think
if you're looking for like little tips and tricks on how to be, right? Just like how to be human and interact and, again, I want to be like that guy. Yeah, sure. Virtual is great. But like really having an impact on your life is very, very difficult. I can name people, 5 guys that I look at and emulate online. There's no way I feel the same way about them than I do about, a guy like Jimmy.
Well, right. So here's the other thing about the value when it's live, it's in person. It is a real person. Everyone has a chink in their armor. Everyone has their shortcoming, and you need to know that. You need to understand that they have failed too. They're not perfect. No one's perfect, right? Some of the most accomplished people have failed over and over and over again. And so I want to talk about some of the things. I want to know about some of their failures.
And you may not even have to ask. You'll just know through having a conversation with them. And that's one thing we'll bring up. But before we do that, just one quick commercial break.
A few moments later.
And we are back with the Johnny Drinks Podcast talking about mentorship online versus in person. We were just discussing how I think it's very important to understand your mentors are people too, right? So they have flaws and you should probably learn those flaws before it's not that it's too late, But before you drive yourself crazy, because what tends to happen is you see this mentor as almost like unhuman, right? Like everything they do is perfect. Everything they touch turns to gold. Where do they crack? Where's a chink in their armor? And everybody's human. And honestly, you probably ask them and they'll be very transparent about it. But maybe you start picking up on little things that they do wrong. You should, instead of getting upset about it, appreciate that it's possible to become like them, because everybody has their flaws. And that's the one thing I wanted to mention. A father and son relationship, and that's why I didn't mention you as my mentor. I think it's so different because it's not, you're my dad. Like, you're my dad first over everything. You're my friend and you're my business partner. But it's just a different relationship. And I think what happens is, growing up, especially when you start to work with your dad or close with your dad, you start to try to combat and find ways that you are better or different than these people. So instead of listening, you're just in this defense mode. And so it's very hard to treat your dad as a mentor at the same time. I think it's almost impossible. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's
I think there will be a time where you may feel differently. So right now, because we are in it so close, it's hard to identify with that as a role, right? So everyone should be a mentor or a protege, mentor and a protege at some point in their life. You should seek help, aspire for that, and then give back and let someone find you. And again, it's the timing of it really matters. I think the virtual piece, which is much easier, be careful with. You can get trapped. You can go down a rabbit hole. You spend a lot of money, and you can try to follow those steps and still end up no better. You'll probably find some good nuggets. You will. But again, those people don't always tend to be as true and realistic as what they're carving out and what they're trying to share.
That's a good point about virtual mentors, because it will create the sensation that you're not getting anywhere. So if you're wherever you're at in life and you're watching these people that quote unquote have it all and they have way more than you do, and you're making these strides and you're doing the things they're saying to do, but you never actually get better, you start to then have the conversation with yourself to say, maybe I'm just not cut out for it. And that's so not true, because you're not taking a step back to realize that 1% better than you were yesterday is enough. Like, just keep going. And eventually you're going to look back and be like, wow, I did grow. And I think that's the analogy. I mean, why I like watching fighters and training. The relation to that and life is actually pretty parallel, in the sense of everybody that goes through training a martial art, you're going to experience the feeling of getting extremely humbled in the beginning and being like, I thought I was something and I'm not. And then you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to commit to this and really work hard. And then you're going to say to yourself, I'm working really hard and I'm not getting anywhere. Maybe I should just quit because I'm not cut out for this. I'm not tough enough. But then you take a step back and things just start to flow, and you start to have conversations with people that are where you need to be. And that for me is very refreshing to know that in life, if I want to be super successful, I don't know what that really means yet, just let life sort of happen. And you learn that from the mentors that have that attitude.
That are doing it. They're already doing things that you hope to accomplish one day. And by the way, just a little sidebar note, the virtual place and people I'm talking about, they are and will continue to be very effective. I am not saying or suggesting that they all categorically are not good. There are a lot of good life coaches, a lot of good people that share virtual, because that's the only way you can. That's how you communicate to the masses. That's how you scale your business. More power to you.
Who was your first virtual mentor?
Tony Robbins.
And what was his, I guess, overarching message? What gravitated you towards him so much?
Live life with passion. And he, again, this is, if there's one guy, there's a lot of guys I'd love to meet. I'd love to meet him one day. I don't want to like drip all over him. I just would love to shake his hand and say thanks. Because there was the late night infomercial that I watched. It was his first cassettes, first package. And it was the power of influence. No, this Chester Karras was a power suggested. What was his, I forget the name of the whole set.
Can we look that up, somebody?
It was something about the power, passion. Maybe he lived his life with passion. Anyway,
Joe's gonna give it
I was watching it, and I'm watching it, and he comes on and he does his thing, and no one knew who he was. He's at literally 2:00 in the morning
Right.
doing that infomercial thing. And so I gravitated towards it. I had a job. I was married. Victoria was born. Life was good. Life was getting started for me. But I felt like I wasn't in the right job. I felt like there was more. Something he said resonated. And it was basically saying, you can accomplish more in life than you may realize. These are some of the steps. These are some of the things you think about. This is the possibilities. And so he was saying all the things that certainly I was thinking, so there was a connection. And then I listened to the tapes and I went through the whole series. Now, I'm not here waving his banner and saying you got to go listen to the guy, but he's probably one of the most accomplished people in the history of this role. So he's done it. He's scaled it. He still works his ass off.
Yeah.
Aunt Laura told you she goes to his camps, his seminars, right?
Yeah.
And I never got that deep into it, but so anyway, that was the first person that I didn't know, but virtually, I would say was very impactful.
What's inspiring about him to me, and I'm not too young to know and appreciate his, because he's still so active, like you said, but he's constantly learning. Like he's probably around your age and he's still interviewing people and trying to learn what makes the best version of individuals. And he reflects on those sort of things. Whereas a lot of people maybe get stuck in their ways and they think, oh, I got it, I'm good. What were the names of the?
Personal power.
Personal power.
Right. Did I say it? I said power.
You said about 1,000 words, so maybe
power.
maybe two of those words. You
personal
said personal
power. Yeah. All right.
Power
Well,
and
living life
together.
with passion and a lot of the things that still some of the steps. But go ahead. I'm sorry. So,
No. So I think that's just what I've learned. And at 27, what I really just want to do is learn from as many people as possible. There's so much out there, whether it's in books or podcasts or having conversation, that you're missing out on if you just close yourself off and have the regular. And I think that's the hardship that a lot of people go through when they get stuck in their 9 to 5, is they get stuck in their routine. And it's like, all right, I'm going to wake up at the same time, talk to the same people, do the same things, and repeat that process where you're really not opening yourself up to learn. And you may think to yourself, well, I work in finance. What do I have to learn about something about? You don't know yet. You don't know what lessons you can learn and what you're going to do in 5 years from now. So always be open to learning. And I think that's going to be, I guess, my strongest attribute is I just want to learn as much as possible.
All right.
If you had to guess right now, because I'm assuming you're going to pick up some sort of mentor from somebody, do you think it's going to be online or somebody in person?
It's going to be someone in person.
Really?
1,000%.
I guess what would you be looking for out of a mentor at this point?
Someone who has the ability to contribute and take us to heights that we only can envision, right? To taking us and this brand that we are to a height that we can only envision. And so there's going to be someone that's going to come in front of both of us and be like, that's the guy, that's the girl, that's the team, that these are certain people. Okay, we got it. When you totally let go and surrender to someone else's every statement, there's no, like you said with Jimmy, he'll say to you something and you're going to say, oh, okay, yeah. That's when you know that's a mentor.
Yeah.
If I'm told run through that wall, just you're not going to get hurt, but put your head through that wall. On the other side is what you're looking for. I'm going through the wall. He said I'm not going to get hurt, and it might hurt, but he said I'm not going to hurt. I'm not going to. Okay, so that's when you surrender total,
Right.
and you have that connection.
And that's a great feeling. I think it gives up. I mean, that's why faith and religion is so important for so many people. You let go and surrender to a higher power, and you're giving up that hold on, should I be doing this or should I not? No, this is what you do. There's no other option. And there's no other opportunity cost to doing what, I think that's what I struggle with the most at this point in life, even with mentors. Like I'm always thinking of, all right, well, if I do this, what can I be doing instead now? Or is this the right option? Would option B? No, like just focus in on one thing. Yeah. And yet maybe you could have found success doing something else, but that doesn't matter because you're going to find success doing this.
Yeah. Right.
So
yeah, I mean, think about how many high school coaches are mentors.
Yeah.
They're coaches first, and then when you graduate and you go on, you're like, he or she was right. That was a mentor. You may not even you'll sometimes not even realize it while it's happening, but you'll afterwards reflect and be like, that person had such an impact on me.
Yeah.
They were my mentor.
Very true.
Yeah.
Sports are huge. Again, when you're young and malleable, sports and having a feeling of confidence that somebody else believes in you is I think, essential.
Well, that's why, especially like football, run through that wall.
Just do it.
Okay.
Yep. I agree.
Yep.
Well, this is great. I really enjoyed this podcast. I hope you guys enjoy this too. Share it with a friend, share it with a mentor. And again, realize that you will be in the other place very soon, potentially, is being somebody else's mentor,
That's it.
which is just as important.
Very important.
Like, subscribe, share. That's it for today, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.